Hey, what's up my fellow golf ball addicts? Welcome back to the channel. I have another triple review for you today, and these are three of the softer golf balls on the market. We have the Bridgestone E6 Soft, we have the Callaway Supersoft, and we have the Srixon Soft Feel. Let's dive right in. Guys, as always, I appreciate so much what you do for this channel. If you don't mind, please, if you want to stick around, please subscribe, like, comment, all the stuff that helps the algorithm out. I really appreciate that. And also, we do have a membership that just starts at $1. So if you want to support this channel further, just for $1 a month, you can really help me provide more content to you. So these three golf balls are all on the softer variety. They're all for slow to mid swingers. Some of them I've had decent success with in the past, and then some of them I have not. Some of them have been for slow swingers, and that's been exclusive who they're for. And so even a mid swing can't catch up to it. But I do want to see this because all three of these golf balls have new models for the 2025 season. So they've all been updated. There's all been some really good news in the media about, the changes and how they're a little bit more bouncy ball. They have a little bit more, ball mile per hour. So, hey, we're going to give them a test side by side and see which of these three is going to be the best for the average swing speed. So let's go ahead and dive right into the price point of these golf balls. So let's start with the Bridgestone E6 Soft. These come in at $23.99 a dozen, which, that kind of just seems to be the standard for two-piece golf balls. When I first started doing this, it was $19.99. There was a brief period for a couple of years where they went to like $22.99. Now we're at $25. That's just pretty much where it's at. Speaking of $25, that's also where the Callaway Supersoft is as well. $24.99 for a dozen, although they have been running a special lately, 2 for $45, so that's not bad. At least you get them down to that $22.50 price point, but it's not a lot, but at least it helps a little bit. And the Srixon Soft Feel is also at $24.99 a dozen. So like I said, AAA two-piece golf ball, $25 seems to be where we're at. It's interesting because as those golf balls get more expensive, it makes a lot of those dollar per golf balls, like from Walmart, the ones that are good, Wilson Boost, the Chaos isn't bad, Smart Core, a lot, Precept Laddie, of course. Those golf balls now continue to shine because they're $1 a golf ball. For $24, you get 24 balls. So as the other prices go up, it just makes those shine a little bit more. So it's a little more expensive, but hey, we'll go ahead and test them. Maybe the new changes are legit. All right, let's get into design real quick. Let's start with the Bridgestone E6. All these golf balls are going to be two-piece, either iometer or Surlyn blends. None of them are going to be urethane, of course, just because of the price point and being two-piece. But when it comes to the Bridgestone, it has the B on there. The B's a pretty cool logo at this point. I like it. I like how they kind of updated the B a little bit, gave it some sharper edges, gave it that, in the middle there, that hollow, whatever you want to call it. Looks like a cute angle. I don't know. Anyway, cool logo. Then you come over on the side. They did update the alignment tool. Says E6 Soft. It's a lot thicker, and I like that. I just wish it was longer because, like, if I hold it up, you can see it clearly, but it's just not very long, so I would have liked it a little longer. But other than that, it looks good. It feels good. It's got a nice shine to it, so it doesn't seem like they skimped out by any means. Bridgestone usually doesn't. Then if we get into the Srixon Soft Feel, it has a few more options. It has red, it has orange, both in matte options. It does have a Tour Yellow, and then it's got this basic one, as you can see here. This is the front of it, what it looks like. It's okay. The whole Srixon spelled out. It looks all right, you know what I mean? I like the green one, that's kind of cool. Come over on the side here, they have a nice thick black alignment tool, and then it's actually, this one's a little longer. So if I hold this one up, as you can see it clearly on the camera, and it's a little bit longer. So I like that, but again, has a good shine to it. It feels pretty good. It doesn't feel super slick, so I mean, it might at least hold the green a little bit. And then the clear winner of the three when it comes to design is the Callaway Supersoft for a couple reasons. If we look at the front logo there, Callaway has a very iconic logo, but also look at the dimple pattern. It's got that hexagon, dimple style pattern. You see it in the Hex Soft a lot, all that, it looks cool. It looks different, looks unique. It has a good shine to it. It actually has a little bit of stickiness to it, which is really nice. Coming over on the side here, you can see the alignment tool, nice thick line. Again, this is actually a great combination of the two. It's really thick and really long. It doesn't seem like they skimped out anywhere here, and it's by far the most unique looking of the three. It stands out, but it doesn't stop there because Callaway is the only one of the three that actually does special editions. There's also that 360 splatter alignment tool that looks like this. They had a Canada edition. They also had, what was it, a USA 4th of July edition that was pretty cool. They do a lot of different designs for a lot of different personalities. If you want the plain white, cool. If you want matte, pink, red, orange, cool. If you want, you know, something cool on there like USA or Canada or Father's Day. And you guys know I love personality. I love when there's different options. Guys, let's get out to the chipping and putting green and let's see how the golf balls do greenside. All right, not a lot of expectations with two-piece golf balls when it comes to spin, but I am gonna see how good the release is, you know, if it has a firm release, if it has a consistent release. And I'm also interested in the bouncy ball effect. So let's start with the Srixon Soft Feel here. Boing. Not bad, actually. A nice little low spinner there. Very dead, muted in the hands. I almost felt nothing. Man, I'll tell you what, guys, a lot of bouncy ball. It's very difficult to find. I'm gonna go to just a shoulder motion because, you know, I can't seem to get a distance. Yeah, that's what you gotta do. Okay, yeah, pretty nice. Oh, that actually had some checkup. That had some bass effect. Okay, so maybe I made a decision too soon. I chunked it. It forgave me. How about that? I love that. Yeah, I mean, there is some bass effect on that ball, actually. I actually got a couple good strikes there. All right, Bridgestone. I'm gonna use the same shoulder motion. I'm assuming it's gonna be the same. Okay. Well, there must be a dip in that green now because all my balls are starting to go left once they get near that hole. I'll aim a little more right. Wow, again, pretty nice. That stopped way short. That's got some bite to it also. I mean, that's impressive. Again, a very similar feel, dead off the hands, but I am noticing the Bridgestone wants to go a little higher on the launch. I'm gonna try to get one in the hole here. Boy, it's got some decent rotation on that ball, guys, I'll tell you what. All right, super soft. Okay, so that actually is the first time I heard a click. I mean, we're talking mild, 1 out of 10 click. The others were 0, that was a 1 out of 10. So I mean, there's nothing there. But I actually did feel, again, the feel, 1 out of 10, it's just barely there, but it distinguishes itself from the other two, so at least there's that. Yeah, no rotation, but hey, look at that. I finally got one in. How about that? So nice firm release to the hole. It didn't have any bass effect. I would say the spin is definitely a lot lower than the other two, but let's keep going here. I finally got one in, so that's nice. Maybe I can get another. No, a little left. Okay, so a little bit of rotation there, but again, not as much as the other two. Let's run it back, try to get another one. Okay, now that ball checked up. I had to talk some trash about it, and now it's upset. I've angered the Callaway Supersoft because now it's starting to show some rotation. I still don't think it's as much as the other two, but it's there. Okay, a little high on that one. Oh, okay, a little bit of bass effect. I actually caught it too much, but as you saw, the height was really high up there too.
I wish there was more to separate these golf balls, but as you could tell from the sound and as you could tell from how, you know, I was describing the feel, it's pretty much dead across the board. The only thing that is different is the Srixon Soft Feel did have a little tiny bit more spin because I saw some bass effect. It was actually jumping left and right on me, so it was definitely kind of the winner when it came to spin, but not by much.
All right, so mallet putter, starting with the Srixon Soft Feel. You know, here's a little spoiler alert. I'm gonna guess they're all gonna be really bouncy and all have no feel in the hands. What do you think? Okay, so like most beginner golf balls, they come off the putter really easy when it comes to this mallet. I mean, I barely have to come back at all. There's basically no sound. It's pretty much dead. 1 out of 10 on sound. I mean, you're not gonna hear it. And then again, feel, it's basically dead. But it's very forgiving. It's easy to control the distance. And I even got a couple in the hole. So, ooh, now that was nice. That was nice. It had a little tiny, faint, firm, you know, like crispy sound. That was nice. I definitely felt it. Now hands, I mean, again, no feedback, but still. Oh, beautiful. Excellent roll. Oh, you son of a gun, get in that hole.
Oh, that's so smooth. I love that. That's a 10 out of 10 roll. Oh, what are you, afraid of the hole? Ugh, okay. Okay, win the hole, not bad. My first initial was because it kind of had a bouncy ball, but it was a little dead in the hands. Like it kind of was like, puh, you know, and it just didn't really feel that great, but maybe it was a mishit. Let me try again. Yeah, you know, the true roll is only like an 8 out of 10 there. That's not as good. Just not as good at all. Okay, yeah, if you take the break out of it, it's not that bad. Yeah, so Callaway and Srixon are pretty close for the most part, but that Bridgestone has just a little bit of an advantage. I like the feel coming off with the mallet. Let's try the blade and see if it's any different. Ugh. Little heavy. A little bit of a mishit, but also really heavy. Okay, not bad. That little crisp is there. That little crisp that was on the E6 has now made its way onto this because it's not got as much, you know, weight and it's not as dead coming off. A little bit more feel. I mean, I'm getting so much inconsistency. I mean, I know my strike isn't perfect, but sometimes it clicks, sometimes it's dead, sometimes it's a soft click, sometimes it's a loud click. Like, it's okay. You know, I mean, the roll's a 9 out of 10, which is nice, but I'm not a big fan of the feel. All right, now E6, I'm excited to hit you, baby. Let's go. What do you got for me? What do you got for me? Something good? Something in the hole, maybe? Oh no, was that a miss hit? Well, it went in. That was a little heavy, guys. Let me try again. Oh no, there we go, much better. Okay, it was just a miss hit. Yeah, that was smooth, nice little click. That's good. It's not quite tour ball level, but it's definitely a step above the other two. Not bad. Miss hit by me. I think I like the E6 so far, but only slightly. We're talking a very narrow dispersion here. The other two are pretty close, so let's check this Callaway just to see. But right now, E6 is my favorite with the putter. Not bad. Little chug effect. Let's try again. Okay, nice and smooth on that one. Oh, that was perfect. I mean, that had a nice little crisp feel. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So again, I would say Callaway is my second favorite with the blade. Srixon is close, but it's gonna be my least favorite of the three. But the E6 just barely gets out ahead. I mean, all these are close, like I said, but they actually feel pretty decent. I even got a couple in the hole, so I like that.
Okay, so when it comes to sound and feel, the Srixon Soft Feel is kind of a vanilla basic golf ball. I mean, it's okay. You know what I mean? There's nothing to highlight at all. You'll see that forgiveness score. The reason the forgiveness is so low, we'll talk about that in the dispersion later, but I have high expectations for these soft two-piece golf balls. That's the whole point, is they're supposed to be consistent and forgiving, and this was one of the worst performances I had seen in that regard, and so that's why it got the 1 out of 5. Coming to the Bridgestone E6, I wasn't a super big fan of the feel when it came to, you know, pure strikes and mishits, but it does pass. As far as mishits, it kind of stung the hands a little bit, and then again, forgiveness, it kind of showed. When I get that stinging in the hands, a lot of the time the forgiveness ends up suffering, and as you can see, the standout is the Callaway Supersoft. It actually feels great. It has a lot of power coming behind it. It feels really bouncy ball-like, which is, again, not what traditionally it's been. Sorry to keep saying that, but it's surprising to me. You know what I mean? It's good to see them making improvements. And the forgiveness showed on that also. There was some great distance dispersion. If I mishit it off the toe, I got pretty much the same distance.
All right, let's talk some data numbers. Let's start with the 50-yard pitch. As always, RPM backspin. Let's dive right in. Now, all these are two-piece golf balls, so I don't expect them to have a ton of spin. I don't think most people would. I'm hoping for around the 76 and up range. Anything 76 and up, I would be happy with for a two-piece golf ball. So diving right in, as you can see, we start with the Srixon Soft Feel, 7,972. Excellent. I mean, that's basically above average, so that's incredible. Then we get into the E6, which is 7,610, which again, that's just slightly above that threshold I just mentioned. I mean, boy, just by the skin of its teeth, but it gets done. And then Callaway Supersoft, 7,023, so that's going to be the most disappointing of the three. Now, is 7,000 enough to stick the green? Sure, but it's just the difference between your golf ball hitting and on that second hop stopping, or maybe even ripping back, and instead it's going to hit, and on that second hop, it's going to just basically kind of roll out a little bit. So it'll still hold the green, but it's not going to have incredible gripping action. So you're going to have to aim a little bit in front of the flag.
Okay, so when it comes to these three on the pitching wedge, as you can see from the ball speed, the Callaway Supersoft is your clear winner. I actually had the lowest swing speed with it, but the highest ball speed with it, and that's actually shown right there in the smash factor being the only green. When it comes to the Bridgestone E6, not bad, kind of right there in the middle, 95.8 yellow, but the distance-wise, it actually ended up in the green because the spin was just a little lower than average. In fact, the spin on all three of these golf balls is below average, but the only one that's really a red flag for me that's concerning is that Srixon Soft Feel, because that's significantly lower. That's about 500 RPM lower than my average, so not only is it not going anywhere distance-wise and ball speed-wise, but it's also not stopping on the green, so that's very, very concerning. A 1.20 smash factor is extremely low. I don't see that very often. But, you know, as far as the Bridgestone E6, it gets the job done. It's about average right there, but there's nothing wrong with that. And then the Callaway Supersoft, surprisingly, actually has some really decent numbers there. So I don't expect that. In the past, I've had some really bad numbers with the Callaway Supersoft as far as, you know, distance and just feeling dead coming off the club. Not the case here. It actually comes out of the gate swinging.
So yeah, when it comes to the pitching wedge numbers, the Supersoft really is the best of the three for sure, because not only did it have, you know, the most yards and everything's in the green, it also had the most spin of the three also. So when you combine that with the much, much, much better feel that I'm now experiencing, it's a pretty nice thing. I mean, you guys know that in the past, I have not liked the Supersoft. It was one of my most overrated golf balls because it was just so dead coming off the club. It was so, you'd hit it and almost felt like it would stick. You know, it would stick to the club and just kind of fall off. It felt like it really had zero negative explosiveness. Not the case this year. It feels really good, and those numbers are proving that. Let's get into the 7-iron now.
Okay, so when it comes to the 7-iron, as you can see from the ball speed, initially it looks like we have a good, better, best situation. But actually, if you look at the smash factor, you'll notice they're the same for the E6 and the Callaway Supersoft, and that's because I swung a little too fast on average with the Callaway. 86, sorry about that, that's my bad. So even though those distance numbers are a little bit better and that ball speed number is a little bit better, they're actually really close. I like the increased spin I got with the E6, and what's cool about that is, you know, those numbers are debatable. The E6 and the Callaway Supersoft are, you know, fighting it out blow for blow, you know, jabs, haymakers, they're really fighting for this spot. But the Srixon Soft Feel, on the other hand, is in the corner, you know, eating glue and putting its finger in its nose. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. Like, it's not performing at all. It's not going anywhere. There's no smash factor. The spin is the lowest of the three. You know, I don't know what else to say. It's just not going anywhere. Maybe it's for really, really slow swingers, but with a 7-iron, I would still expect to be able to hit a soft feel type golf ball, at least average. So that's kind of concerning, but the other two are still doing really great.
So this is where obviously we see a little bit more separation. I did swing the Supersoft a little faster, but regardless of that, the number dispersion between the three is just insane. The Supersoft legit is coming off the club with some serious heat, and I'm very surprised. Like I said, not been the case in the past, but now we have really good 7-iron numbers. I wish the spin had been just a little more, but I get it. The Supersoft's not intended to be a high, you know, spin club, so the fact that it still has enough to hold the green is fine by me, but the Supersoft's really making an impact here. So let's get into driver and see how that one is.
Okay, so when it comes to the driver, the first thing I notice is that the Srixon Soft Feel woke up. I see some green over there, which I have not seen this entire review. I look over there and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, that's actually a pretty decent number. It has the best smash factor of the three. It has the most distance of the three. It's all still relatively close, but it actually has a really healthy spin number as well. It actually is finally making an impact, so that's great. When it comes to the E6 and the Callaway Supersoft, they're still battling it out blow for blow. I mean, they've just moved their fight over a little bit and let Srixon kind of come in and join. But they're fighting it out, and the main difference I see is that the launch angle of the Supersoft is extremely high. It's actually way too high. And I don't know if you've noticed this. I don't think I mentioned it, but it was the same way with the 7-iron. It was the same way with the pitching wedge, I believe. The Supersoft does launch high. It's just a high-launching golf ball, and so sometimes that can be in your favor. I like to get the ball up in the air, for sure. It helps me a lot, but 19.7 is probably a little much, so maybe it's kind of getting into that range where you have to be a really slow swinger to see a benefit from that, but all three of these, for the most part, get the job done. They're at least close to that average line. I mean, we're talking very close. 141 is exactly average. So 141.8 is just slightly above that average threshold, and 140.2 is slightly below it. So the Srixon Soft Feel may have a decent driving performance, but it's hard to overlook the pitching wedge and the 7-iron up to this point.
Ball speed still wasn't that great. Honestly, none of these three are going to win any awards off the tee, but I think most people expect that with, super soft type golf balls or soft feel type golf balls. However, they all hold their own. They're all at least, average except for one. Spin-wise, they all still are in that low to low mid spin range, which is good. None of them are terrible. They all just kind of hold that middle ground. So interesting. All right, let's get into some accuracy and dispersion. Let's go over to the computer. Let's look at these charts.
Okay, so starting with the Srixon Soft Feel, when we get to the 50-yard pitch and the pitching wedge, those are pretty good for the most part. I mean, if you look at the majority of the dots, they're kind of in a nice little circle there. But when we get to that 7-iron, it is just all over the place. I mean, it's just like a random dot board. It looks like someone took a dart and just threw with blindfolded and hit a bunch of random points. Not very happy with that at all. And then getting into the driver, the same kind of concept. Everything is either a pull left or a push right. Now, some of that's obviously me, but I've actually had some really good tight dispersion with the driver lately. So to see this, it's kind of appalling. I'm not very happy. I would expect out of a two-piece, softer, forgiving golf ball, less side spin, I would expect to have better dispersion with the driver, and so that's kind of disappointing overall. Then if we transition to the Bridgestone E6, similar concept, 50-yard pitch and pitching wedge are fine for the most part. Now, 7-iron is a little better because although the distance dispersion is kind of bad, I mean, it's really far, it's really short, it's all over. I mean, there's a lack of forgiveness there on distance for sure. The accuracy for the most part's great. I mean, you have 8 out of 10 dots that are all on a line there. They actually kind of form like a geese pattern, like how geese fly when they're migrating. But that's not bad. I don't mind that. It's just the distance that bothers me. But then when we get into the driver's nice. When you look at like 8 or 9 out of 10 of those, 8 out of 10 of those that just go right down the middle, that's excellent. That's what I expected out of the Srixon Soft Feel. So this is okay for the most part. It is a little bit better for sure than the Srixon Soft Feel, so it's really going to come down to the Supersoft to see how it does. Let's dive into that. All right, and what's hilarious about the Supersoft is it's exactly the opposite of what we just went through with the E6. I was talking with the E6 about how the accuracy was really, really good, but the distance dispersion was all over the place. This one's the exact opposite. If you look at accuracy-wise, it's kind of all over the place. The pitching wedge is, okay. The 50-yard pitch is okay. When you get to the 7-iron, accuracy is okay. But really what's great is the fact that there's not a lot of difference between my shortest and longest hit. Even when you get to the driver distance is great as far as consistency, but accuracy suffers. And so that's crazy that they've been exchanging blows this whole time, and now when it comes to dispersion, they do the opposite. So I guess it depends on what you need as a golfer. If you need a little help with your accuracy, the E6 is definitely the best of the three. But on the other hand, if you need help with distance dispersion, you're not the best ball striker, and you need a little help getting more consistency with your distances, the Supersoft seems to kind of be the way to go. But that's kind of hilarious. I wouldn't have guessed that.
All right, now let's talk some durability here. Let's start, of course, with the Srixon Soft Feel. Looking at it, this one right here is a little banged up. I'm just looking all over it. I do see some dirt marks, but I see a lot of little tiny, abrasions basically in between the dimples, so you can tell that it was starting to get a little rough. It's not bad. It definitely would get you through a round. I'm going to call it an 8 out of 10 because even though right now it's getting to that borderline where it's kind of a yellow flag, red flag, it still would last through a whole round. So 8 out of 10 I'm perfectly happy with, and for a golf ball that's this price point, in a two-piece, that works. That's absolutely fine. Then we get into the Bridgestone E6, and again, looking at this one, it's kind of the same thing. I'm looking in between the dimples, and I see a little bit of rough edges. Some of the dimples aren't perfectly circle anymore. There's a little bit of abrasions there. You can tell where I hit it, but again, really good. 8 out of 10 again. I mean, it's going to get you through a round, so 8 out of 10 is perfectly fine by me. Then we get into the Callaway Supersoft, and looking at this one, now I don't see as many abrasions with this one, so there's one right there, so that's not bad. Now I'm going to have to kind of feel the golf ball it actually feels pretty good. I mean, I see the one abrasion and that's all I see. And so actually, oh, there's another one. So there's two, but the rest of the golf ball looks really, really good. You know, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 9 out of 10 just because I do feel this one is better than the other two. So it doesn't deserve the same score, but that's really nice. I mean, 80 to 85, 90 shots somewhere in there. And it still, I think, would go half a round for me. And that's great. So 9 out of 10. Good job. So in conclusion, who are these golf balls for? Let's start with the Srixon Soft Feel. Let's just get that out of the way. That's definitely the most disappointing of the three. And that's, you know, my findings this time around have been the same that I've had previous. And I know there's a lot of you that really love this golf ball and love playing it. But after 3 or 4 tests now that I've done on it over the past 5 years, I've just never found anything that really makes me say, hey, you know, that's the golf ball you should be playing. Now, on the other hand, I also don't see anything that makes me believe like, hey, this is terrible, this is hurting your game. But man, there's just so many golf balls out there, and you guys know how it is. I say it all the time. There's so much competition that I think if you play a soft feel because you really love it, I think if you did some experimentation and like tried, you know, 6 or 7 other golf balls, you know, or even 3 or 4 somewhere in there, I think you would find some other things you like, because I haven't been able to find too many really eye-popping numbers or anything really that sets it apart from other golf balls. Now, when it comes to the E6 and the Supersoft, real quick, I have to touch on the Supersoft. You got to give a lot of credit to Callaway here. They took the zombie ball and basically made it a really solid 2-piece option. I mean, it has bouncy ball effect. It has some really good spring off the club. There were some numbers that I was like, oh, okay, I see you came to play this time. There's a vast improvement there. And in fact, when it comes to the end of the, you know, the Golf Ball Attic Awards, I won't give anything away, but right now you have to believe this is going to be most improved. Like, I mean, it has to be. It went from a bottom 10, bottom 20 golf ball, hated the field, dead off the club, to now I'm like, oh, okay, look at these numbers. Oh, green, 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 green. Okay, cool. Big difference there. On the other hand, we also have to give some credit to the E6, because this battle between the E6 and the Supersoft in this video was pretty cool to watch. I mean, you go from the green, you know, you go from chipping to the putting to the feel to the numbers, and it was just blow for blow back and forth. You know, sometimes Callaway would land a haymaker, but then sometimes, you know, you thought the E6 was going to fall down, and then boom, here comes an uppercut. And it just, they fought it out the whole time. I think that the E6 and the Supersoft are very solid golf ball options. I know some of you wish the value was a little better, but when it comes to overall performance, there are some highlights there for sure, and I think they're worth a try if you're someone looking for a decent 2-piece golf ball. The big thing is you're just going to want to watch this review and see which one's going to fit you more. Do you need better dispersion? Do you need better accuracy? Do you need better forgiveness? Do you want that better feel? Do you want a better putter feel? All those things you just got to look through and decide which one will probably be better for you, or you can try them both. So there you are. Guys, as always, keep watching, keep saving, keep learning. Until next time, here in a few days, we will have the Callaway Triple Diamond going up against the Titleist Left Dash. See you then.